revealed memories of their childhood in Buenos Aires, deep family stories, and most notably a secret letter that could shed light on a previously unknown and shocking truth about the Catholic Church. Maria Elena revealed that her brother, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, Pope Francis, chose to remain silent on many sensitive matters within the Church, fearing that full disclosure could bring about catastrophic consequences. She said he chose silence because if he revealed everything, the Church would never be the same again. Her statements have sent shock waves through the Catholic community and beyond, igniting intense debate over the role of truth and honesty in faith. Let us delve into Maria Elena's testimony, from the torment of Jorge's final days to the regrets she never dared to voice aloud. Maria Elena, a sister's heart, speaks after the Pope's death. On Easter Monday, April 21, 2025, the Vatican officially announced Pope Francis had passed away at the Casa Santa Marta. Though his death had been expected after months of illness, the world was nonetheless stunned, not only by the passing of a beloved leader, but also by the sudden flood of buried memories and unspoken emotions now rising to the surface. Thousands of miles away from Rome, a quiet woman largely overlooked by the global media surely felt a unique and private grief. That woman is Maria Elena Bergoglio, the Pope's only surviving sister. For over a decade, she lived in seclusion in Argentina, avoiding cameras and curious questions. She never capitalized on her powerful brother's fame. But after Pope Francis died at the age of 88, something shifted within her, a quiet urgency, a wordless sorrow, and at last, she spoke. Maria Elena's first public statement did not come from the Vatican press podium, nor was it drafted by any church media team. It was raw, emotional, and hauntingly sincere. On national television, she choked back tears as she said, "To me, he was never just the Pope. He was Jorge, the boy who chased dogs in the yard, who made me laugh when I was sick, who held me as we cried the night our father died." She paused, choosing her next words with care. But what she said next left the studio frozen in silence. "I never wanted him to become Pope. That decision cost us more than anyone will ever know." A simple statement, yet it rang like a midnight bell. People began to wonder, what did she mean? What was the price? And why now? In the days following Maria Elena's speech, global media and devoted followers began digging. They retraced old clues, asked new questions. What else had Maria hidden all these years? And why, only after her brother's death, did she choose to speak? But this was only the beginning. What she revealed next would rock the world. Every word she spoke opened a new door, inviting the world into a realm few had ever seen, the private life of Jorge Mario Bergoglio. Maria Elena was born in 1948, 12 years younger than Jorge. They grew up together in Buenos Aires in a traditional Italian immigrant family. Their father was a railway worker, their mother a devout homemaker. In Maria's eyes, Jorge was steady. He disliked crowds, avoided attention, and often ventured alone into impoverished neighborhoods to help those in need. Many reports confirm that the siblings shared a close childhood, though the gap widened when Jorge joined the Jesuits and quickly rose through the ranks. And when Jorge became Pope, the distance between them was no longer measured in miles. The Vatican's strict protocols discouraged close family members from public prominence. At that time, Maria Elena was battling illness and living quietly in a convent on the outskirts, cared for by nuns. She had long withdrawn from public life, a faded shadow on the margins of a global icon. When Pope Francis died, Maria Elena could not travel to Rome. She had no chance to say goodbye, no final touch, no presence at the funeral, not even a mention of her name in the official farewells. Yet it was this silence that echoed the loudest, a reminder that behind the halo of sainthood was still a brother, a son, a flesh and blood man once called Jorge. He was the eldest of 5 siblings, born in 1936 to an Italian immigrant family. As a teenager, he studied and worked to support the family, at one point working in a chemical lab, later as a nightclub bouncer. Maria recalled, "He was always quiet but fiercely protective. Even as a child, he carried something in him like the weight of the world." Before there was the Vatican, before Jorge knew God, there was someone else who lit the first flame in him, their grandmother Rosa. A stern, devout woman, Rosa had an iron moral code and a blazing heart for justice. According to Maria, it was Rosa who sparked the initial fire in Jorge, the fire of compassion, of repentance, and of questions that had no easy answers. Here, Maria recounted a painful childhood trauma, a deep wound Jorge carried with him all the way to Rome. "Something happened in our family," she said. "A betrayal, not of faith, but of blood." Jorge was the one most deeply hurt. At around 12 years old, he discovered their father had a second family, a carefully kept secret for years. Maria withheld names and details but insisted. From that moment, Jorge's childhood ended. Innocence was lost. And from that point on, Jorge began living as if trying to cleanse the sins of others. That was the turning point, according to Maria. Jorge didn't turn to God because he felt called, but because he wanted to escape. My brother didn't become a priest because he believed it was destiny, she said coldly. He ran from shame. The statement left even the most devout Catholics breathless. In 1969, he was ordained as a Jesuit priest, but his journey was unlike most. By age 36, just 4 years after ordination, he became the provincial superior of the Jesuits in Argentina, a powerful role amid the nation's political unrest. In 1992, he was appointed auxiliary bishop of Buenos Aires and quickly rose to archbishop. This time, it wasn't his titles people noticed but how he lived. Jorge avoided luxury cars, cooked for himself, regularly visited the sick and poor, and spent time with people living with AIDS, then among the most marginalized. When the cardinals convened in 2013 to elect a successor to Benedict, few believed Jorge would be chosen. At 76, he was not a strong contender. But with the church drowning in scandals, fatigue, and crumbling faith, they sought something different. Jorge Mario Bergoglio was that choice. When he stepped onto the balcony of St. Peter's Basilica, the world fell silent. Maria Elena remembers that moment. I just hoped they wouldn't choose him, she later admitted, not because he didn't deserve it, but because the burden was too heavy. It was a raw and painful truth, not rejection, but the worry of a sister who had seen both the light and the darkness in that man. Some believe it was precisely Jorge's troubled past that prepared him for the papacy. He knew failure, scandal, and painful silence. Perhaps that's why he didn't try to hide the church's scars, he confronted them. To Maria Elena, that's why he will always be her brother. Not a flawless saint, but a man who had once fallen and chose to rise, walking forward with kindness. Maria Elena Bergoglio never left Buenos Aires. She lived simply among sisters, tending her garden, praying daily, a quiet woman carrying the kind of memories no one else can understand. The memories of a brother before he became a symbol. Those memories are not meant to challenge the image of the Pope, but to bring him back to earth, where he was still kin, still flesh, still part of a family. The priesthood Jorge Mario Bergoglio chose demanded silent sacrifice and profound loneliness. As he walked the path of strict religious life, Maria Elena remained behind in the ordinary world of Buenos Aires. Though their paths diverged, they never truly felt apart, at least not until 2013 when Jorge became Pope Francis. From that moment, everything changed. When asked if she felt hurt not being by his side during those historic moments, Maria Elena offered only a sad smile. He belongs to the world now, no longer to me, she said. I've accepted that. But I've never stopped missing him. It wasn't jealousy. It was sorrow, the kind of sorrow that comes when the last member of your family becomes a symbol and you're left behind. Yet when Pope Francis, once praised for his humility and compassion, had the secrets of his life unearthed by Maria, the world was forced to reconsider. What if that humility wasn't simply a moral virtue, but a form of penance? Maria Elena once again stunned the world. She whispered, as if afraid even the wind might hear, "The church never wanted me to say this." So what could be more terrifying than everything already revealed? Stay with us, because in the next part, we'll explore what Maria calls the Vatican's hidden file, something she claims Jorge kept secret until the day he died. And according to what she's disclosed, the contents inside could change the history of the church forever. Secrets of corruption and abuse, cover-ups that shook the Vatican. After Pope Francis passed away, Maria Elena agreed to sit down for one final interview, a conversation she clearly wrestled with. Her voice didn't tremble from emotion, but from the weight of a truth no one wanted to carry. I've struggled for years to decide whether I should say this, she admitted, because it's not just about my brother, it's about the highest corridors of power in the Vatican. According to Maria, Jorge once believed there were truths the world simply wasn't ready for. Not because they were evil, but because they could shatter everything the faithful believed in. Before he died, he secretly compiled a collection of documents, letters, and audio recordings, a personal dossier he called Illinois Dossier Nascosto, the hidden file. Never officially released, Maria said not even his closest advisors knew its full contents. So how did she know about it? Maria Elena revealed that she had kept this secret for over a decade, guarding it like a sacred promise to the brother she loved. In a 2012 visit, when Jorge was still the Archbishop of Buenos Aires, he met her secretly at their mother's home, where he gave her a key and a letter in a sealed envelope. He didn't explain much, she recalled. He just said that if the church ever fell into crisis, I would know what to do. At the time, Maria Elena had no idea her brother would become pope. She placed the envelope in a small wooden box in her bedroom, never opening it for fear of hurting him. She only knew he was carrying a heavy burden, his eyes clouded with a worry she'd never seen before. On the morning of Pope Francis's death, torn between grief and a sense of responsibility, Maria Elena decided to open the envelope for the first time. What she found nearly made her collapse. A 3-page letter, written in black ink, Jorge's handwriting trembling as if penned under extreme stress. In it, Jorge confessed that he had uncovered a vast financial corruption network inside the Vatican, involving illegal dealings with international banks and authoritarian regimes. He described high-level abuse cover-ups where powerful cardinals used money and influence to protect perpetrators. "I want to speak the truth," Jorge wrote, "but I fear the church will collapse, and the faith of billions will be lost." With a heavy heart, Maria said the letter didn't name specific individuals or organizations, but Jorge left behind cryptic clues, bank account numbers, initials of certain cardinals, and Vatican Bank. This network, according to the letter, involved senior cardinals, offshore accounts, and clandestine property dealings in Europe and Latin America. Pope Francis, while still Archbishop of Buenos Aires, had apparently stumbled upon initial evidence during a trip to Rome in 2005, well before he was elected to the papacy. He had initially assumed these irregularities were minor, isolated incidents. But by the time he took the mantle of Pope in 2013, he realized the web was far more extensive than he had feared. "If I expose it all at once," Jorge wrote in the letter, "I risk destroying the institution I was called to serve. But if I stay silent, I become complicit." Maria Elena's hands trembled as she read those words. She said the most haunting part wasn't the description of the corruption, but the deep, personal guilt that Jorge expressed. He believed in the church. He believed it could still do good. But he also feared that too much truth would tear it apart. In the letter, Jorge described a specific moment in 2016 when he came within hours of calling a press conference to reveal everything. But he was stopped, warned, even threatened, by figures within the Curia. They told him they could remove him quietly, Maria said, and even hinted they had ways of silencing those around him. The tone of the letter shifted then, from sorrow to resignation. "I no longer fear for myself," Jorge wrote, "but I cannot let the wolves tear apart the flock." The letter ended with instructions. If the church faced scandal or crisis after his death, Maria was to deliver the key he had given her to a specific confessor in Argentina, someone Jorge trusted deeply, though he never named the person. The key, she discovered, opened a small safe hidden beneath the floorboards of her childhood home. Inside, she found documents that she said confirmed the Pope's fears: wire transfers, coded communications, legal deeds, and a hand-recorded audio confession from an anonymous Vatican official. The recordings described a ring of financial misconduct stretching back decades, involving hospitals, charities, and investments funneled through ghost organizations. Maria knew she couldn't keep this secret anymore. And yet, she was equally terrified of what might follow if the information became public. "There are names in there that I recognize from television, from ceremonies, from Easter Mass," she said softly. "If I reveal them, I'm not just exposing criminals. I'm burning down the very temple my brother tried so hard to preserve." Vatican officials have refused to comment on Maria Elena's claims. When contacted by international media, a high-ranking cardinal simply stated, "Pope Francis led with humility, courage, and faith. We honor his legacy, and we do not comment on speculative family matters." Yet the silence is deafening. The Vatican, known for its rapid-fire rebuttals to conspiracy theories, has made no effort to discredit Maria's interview. In fact, as of May 2025, not a single official statement has denied the existence of Illinois dossier Nascosto. Journalists and theologians are now grappling with the consequences. What does it mean for the faithful if the Pope knew of grave corruption and chose silence? Was it cowardice or protection? Heroism or complicity? And perhaps the hardest question, is the institution of the Church more sacred than the truth? Maria Elena has not said whether she will publish the full contents of the dossier. She fears reprisal, both legal and physical. "I've already received anonymous letters," she revealed. "Some threaten me. Others beg me to stay silent for the good of the church. And still others say I should go all the way, to finally clean the wound so it can heal. The world waits. Theologians are split. Father Antonio Liberetti, a Jesuit scholar, praised Maria Elena for her courage, calling her a necessary voice in a time of spiritual crisis. Others, like Cardinal Erich Baumgartner of Vienna, warned against weaponizing grief and family knowledge to sow doubt among the faithful. But none of them have refuted her story. A quiet movement is forming among laity and clergy, those who believe Maria Elena must release Illinois dossier Nascosto in full. Online petitions are circulating. Candlelight vigils are being held. Some argue the Church must undergo a radical reckoning, that it cannot move forward without confronting its own rot. Maria Elena, meanwhile, remains undecided. Her health is fragile. She has refused interviews since the initial release. But one last letter from her has surfaced, sent anonymously to a group of investigative journalists in Argentina. The letter ends with a single line in Spanish: "A mi hermano murió con una verdad encerrada en su pecho. Tal vez es hora de que el mundo la escuche." My brother died with a truth locked inside his chest. Perhaps it is time the world heard it. What happens next remains uncertain. Will the Vatican mount a defense?